Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and today I'm doing a VR to the 54321 Tarot hashtag by Camelia. So, jumping right in, the first one is 5 for 5 decks. And the first one is one of my all-time favorites, which I've edged in gold, which is the Gentle Tarot. Because it just speaks to the core of my being somehow. And I tend to have a lot of anxiety. Some of these are still in order from another tag I did. And I tend to get overstimulated, and so this is just a very soothing, relaxing deck with no pressure. Yeah, I can just, sorry, I got distracted and just started looking at it and admiring it, and it just helps me to sort of ground and center myself. So that is Gentle Tarot. The next one up, in no particular order because I couldn't decide an order, except if I had to pick one deck it would probably be the Gentle Tarot, but other than that, no order. The next one is the Margarete Petersen Tarot, because it reminds me, well, for many reasons, but one of them is that it reminds me of the joy that I used to get out of making collage and just playing with art, which I should really do again sometime. Maybe I'll do that. It's a very intuitive deck, very abstract, but very beautiful and intentional. And so if I want to dive deep into the world of ideas or dreams or anything intangible like that, this would be the deck. And sometimes I've done it for dream work or path working or that sort of thing. So yeah, I've recently pulled it out to start using again because I've missed using it and it's a little bit fall. I mean, I can use it any time of year, but it's got a little bit of a fall vibe. So I've pulled that out again. The next one is the Tarot Racine, or however you say that properly in French, the Roots of Asia Tarot. And this, there's a funny, the light's at a funny angle there. This I got, I think it's out of print, but I got it on eBay, which I think you can still do for not too outrageous amounts of money. And it's a very Buddhist centered deck, so some of the descriptions in the guidebook, which is in French, but I don't mind because I can practice, have a slightly different take on a lot of the cards than the typical Western European one, which I like. A different perspective is always a good thing, in my opinion. And I do like reading about Buddhism, so it's not as though the concepts are completely foreign to me. I mean, I'm not an expert by anybody's estimation, but yeah, that's this one. And it's also, it's a bit abstract as well. It does have some figures, more figures in it, but whoops, and the color choices I love. Oh, got right stuck in there. Okay, so that's the Roots of Asia Tarot, and I love it. And actually, maybe I should put them over here so they don't cause any more shadows, since it is now that time of year where the light will start going early in the evening. The next deck, which I've made a nice mess of here, is the Tarot Avatara, which, excuse me, just from a tactile sensory perspective, is one of my all-time favorites. The gilding is so smooth, and the I don't know, there is a slight texture to the cardstock. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, there you can a little bit. And it's gorgeous. I love it. It makes me happy. I love Frida Kahlo, and this is inspired by her work, her life, which was not an easy life particularly, although she did find joy in it. She was very much her own person. Social norms be damned. Sometimes gender norms be damned. So I enjoy that, those aspects of both her life and this deck, and it's so beautiful. It's the most frothy deck I own, which I'm not very good at using, so I wouldn't say I'm adept at using this deck. I mean, I'm not sure I'm adept at using any deck, frankly, but anyway. So sometimes I do get these cards, and I'm not always quite sure what to make of them, but at the same time, there's also enough going on. I mean, they're very busy cards, so there's always enough going on to dig into something, even if it's not quite maybe the traditional meaning. It always gives me something to take away. And the last deck, excuse me, allergy season. The last deck for today is, I don't know, maybe this is slightly cheating, but it's a deck that I made, so there's only one, because I made a deck that is a Herbalist Tarot, which these are kind of the backs, I guess, which have the tarot card, key phrase or word that I've picked to help me. This is, I should say, a deck that I made to help me learn both the tarot and herbalism. So in making these connections, not all of which I'm 100% happy with, I've been learning both tarot and herbalism, because some, like cramp bark, I've only used just very slightly. It was never something that I was super familiar with, but it is an antispasmodic, which, and I'm not a medical doctor, disclaimer. Yeah, it is an antispasmodic though, which I use in a tea for anxiety and just muscle spasms, and when they get too tense and sore and everything, because that's pleasant. And then on the back, or the front, depending on which way you look at it, is a photo that I've taken of the plant. And there are about probably 12 photos that aren't mine, but the rest are mine. I might replace that photo at one point. There are a few photos that I'm less than happy with. So I may replace them someday. This, I don't think, is my photo. What is this? Elder. Nope, not my photo. So I couldn't sell this deck or anything until I replaced all the photos, but it's just for me anyway, so that is okay. This, I think that's Tansy. Is that Tansy? No. Whoops. Yes, it is. So is that. Yeah, so this is a deck that I have been using a lot to study different properties of plants, different associations of plants, and also the tarot. These landscape ones are how I view the court cards, as a coming together of various elements into some manner of whole. So that's the reason for the landscape cards. But yeah, that is a tarot deck that I printed on Make playing cards that doubles as Herbalism flashcards, basically. So those are the decks. And now the next part of this is 4 books. So the first tarot book I ever read, which might not be surprising, is Mindful Tarot. And she has a Esther, she goes by Esther now, I believe, Esther Lisa Franco Tishman, goes by Mindful Tarot as well on YouTube. She was a Zen Buddhist minister and is now an interfaith chaplain at a medical center. So this is the back of the book, and the subtitle is Bring a Peace-Filled Compassionate Practice to the 78 Cards, which I appreciate, and may actually have to reread at some point. It's a beautiful take, I think, on the cards and what they can add to your life, and how your life can just add to your life. Yeah, so that was the first book that I ever read. The next 2 books are both books that I am mid-reading. I say mid because this one weighs a ton and I'm not actually halfway through it. But it is Holistic Tarot by Venable Wen, who's also on YouTube. And it is heavy, but it's very good. I mean, she's very thorough. She's meticulous, extremely thoughtful. I mean, she's not just throwing these things out there. She's done a lot of work researching for this book and has a lot of experience and a lot to offer. And so I sort of just read this a little bit at a time so as to be less intimidated by it. But it's really good. I'm enjoying it. The other book that I'm currently reading, that I am about halfway through, is 36 Secrets, A Decanic Journey Through the Major Arcana by T. Susan Chang. And actually, I could have picked either of her books. Well, I think she's got several. But I have read Tarot Deciphered, which is also very good. But this one I started because I started the Decalogue this year that Margarete Teresa is doing. And then I kind of stopped doing the Decalogue, but I'm still reading the book. I'm just not getting the cards all out and organized and everything. I'm just reading through the book a little bit at a time when I have the energy and inclination, so not always quite at the exact right time of year, but close enough for me. So, because, you know, life happens. So, that's that. I will finish it this year at some point. And then the next book is what I'm going to read next. It's probably as soon as I'm done 36 Secrets. Because I already have like 12 books on the go and can't really justify starting another one before I finish one. But the next one I want to read is Read Like the Devil, The Essential Course in Reading the Marseille Tarot by Camelia Elias. And it just sounds, her take on it sounds fascinating. And I won't really talk about what I understand her take to be because I haven't read the book yet. And so I've just heard about it from other people and would probably get it wrong. But I do have one Marseille deck that I'd like to learn to read better. And I've read the Untold Tarot and I enjoyed it. But I think I'll use that more as a reference book. But yeah, this one is next up on my list. And number 3, oh yeah, is 3 spreads, which I don't really use. So I'm sort of adapting it to 3 ways to draw the cards. So what I usually do is just pull until it feels right, which usually ends up being 3, but sometimes 2, sometimes 6, like it can vary. Depends on the day, really, and the deck and the situation and how I feel and so on. And then sometimes what I do as well is, in addition to pulling, you know, 2 from the top, for example, I can't remember for the life of me who suggested this, but somebody on YouTube suggested this, because they do it is pull one from the bottom, and that's the supporting energy of the reading. So quite often I found myself doing that, and I really enjoy it. And then the third thing that I have done, but not lately, is to use a significator card. So if I was going to use this, which I probably wouldn't, but I'd shuffle it in to the deck and then find which cards are just before and just after and read that in sort of this order, roughly. I'm pretty loosey-goosey about it. I don't tend to like the formality of spreads. I've used them sometimes, but I'm just not a regular spreads user. Okay, 2 habits or paraphernalia. So I went with paraphernalia because I've got all these containers kicking around, which when I'm working with a deck, I tend to have it either in a box, if it has a box like the Margarete Petersen does, and then I just store it in there, and then the upright facing card is the one that was on the bottom, or the supporting energy. Or because this came in a tuck box, and because I'm terrible at keeping a handle on things and need them to be organized, I'll have it in this container on the table until I'm ready to use it. And so I've got a bunch of these. I've got this is what the Tarot Racine is currently living in, and so on. And the other thing I use a lot are these sort of little card holders, which I don't really need to demonstrate because they're fairly self-explanatory, like so. But they're cute, and I stained this one because it was just a plain, whatever that unfinished wood is in the middle there. And I was refinishing a couple other pieces of furniture, so I just did that at the same time. And then lastly, one piece of advice, and I haven't really been using tarot very long, so I'm not sure I'm a great source of advice, but I would say for me, what I try to do is always be learning and to have fun. So there's always something new to learn. There's really no end of learning on any topic you could think of pretty well. But also, there are a lot of people who will tell you what you can and can't do and make it very legalistic, and I'm not really sure it has to be that either. So there's a balance to be had between continuous learning and just having fun with it. And that is that's all I got for today. So that's the 54321 tarot hashtag that Kelly Bear started. And so if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.